Welcome back everyone, Staring from Staring Game here. Today we're running the second wing of Hellfire Citadel, known as the Halls of Blood. This has 3 bosses in it like the first wing. We're just going to jump right into it and get going. Now you can easily just skip this little Gron here easily. You don't have to actually fight it, but back then there was always that one person who would do something stupid and pull it. Now there are 3 rows of patrol up here, so and after that you're literally right at the first boss here in the Gourd of Blood. They're known as the Hellfire High Council. Now, this fight doesn't actually initiate until you either taunt or pull them. Let's see. You'll have the Blade Master here, Dia Dark Whisper, and Grotug Bloodboil, who, if you remember back in Burning Crusade, was actually a boss in Black Temple. But for the Blade Master, his abilities are the Fell Blade, Fell Storm, and Windwalk. Fell Blade, he just throws his flaming blade, doing damage on whoever comes in contact with it. Fell Storm is basically Blade Storm for warriors, which he'll take fire damage every second for 8 seconds. Windwalk is when he'll summon mirror images. He'll re-emerge after 45 seconds or until you defeat all the images, whatever happens first. Now, when he hits 30%, Final Hour kicks in. He'll start to cast Wicked Strike, and after you kill him, images will still continue to come back and strike from the shadows. Now, the Wicked Strike, the image appears behind half of the players, striking them for fire damage, and it will increase over time. And after he is defeated, they still appear and use his ability. Now, Dia Dark Whisper has a couple of abilities here. Void Bolt, which is a shadow bolt that does shadow damage. Void Haze, she puts a dark shroud on her allies, which makes them absorb all damage as long as they stand within distance of her. So you need to pull these 2 guys away from her and keep them away from her at all times, or kill her first. Nightmare Visage, she'll transform into a shadow beast, or being, or whatever you want to call it, to release a flurry of her primary attacks on the main target she's on. Now, Mark of the Necromancer, she marks enemies with signals of the Necromancer, which makes them take increasing shadow damage over time, and when it dispels, it bounces to nearby allies of the player. Now, on Mythic here, it bounces to 3 instead of 2 targets. Reap, she reaps all marked targets, causing their marks to burn on the ground, leaving behind a little pool, which if you stand in, you take shadow damage. Now on Mythic, the burden of the Necromancer, when this is dispelled, it detonates, causing shadow damage to all. Now Wailing Holler, she'll shroud the room in darkness, inflicting shadow damage to all enemies every second. When it's mass, it causes horrors to form in random locations to sail across the room. They inflict shadow damage if you happen to come in contact with them. Now her final hours, when she hits 30%, she's overcome by the darkness, and she'll apply the Mark of the Necromancer to half of all remaining foes. But during this, she's become mad and she'll no longer use Reap, so... Now, the Blood Boil here. Blood Boil is an ability on Mythic. He causes the 5 furthest enemies to have their Blood Boil, doing physical damage. Now, on Mythic, this actually stacks and increases in damage every second. Now, acidic wounds is something tanks need to be aware about. The Fell Sickness affects the wounds of his target, causing nature damage every 2 seconds, and reducing their armor, and it can stack up to 60 times and it lasts for 30 seconds. Fel Rage, he focuses on a random enemy as the target will be inflicted with Fel energy, which will cause them to gain extra defenses, powers, and such. Now, Fury is his Enrage, which over time increases over time during the fight, and will increase by 2% per stack. Demolishing Leap is more or less a heroic leap for warriors, which he'll just jump and he'll take damage in proximity of the impact. Upon raising 30% of his health for final hour, he casts Tainted Blood. This will reduce your health by 10% per stack, so this is when you need to burn him down fast. Now let's pull them out and you can see some of their abilities.
Gertog, dispatch our enemies.
Yes, dark. Your darkness burns within me.
I see. They're within distance of her, so they have this shroud on them. Now you pull them away, the shroud's gone.
I'll rip the meat from your bones.
Now the Fel Rage, as you can see, my damage done to them increases, my healing, and I get a nice chunk of leech.
It rips. It tears. Mercy. And return.
I want more.
And see, this is when the room gets shrouded in darkness. Uh-oh. See, even on Mythic here,
My blade
I got killed.
vengeance.
As you can see, these abilities can stack up pretty fast and really wreck you. Now we're just going to go in this time. We're just going to off them. I wanted to show you their abilities and why this fight back then needed a lot of coordination. Now we're just going to go in and just stomp on them. We're gonna be focusing on Dark Whisper, just knock her out ahead
I'm
of
out
time.
of range.
Make sure you don't kill her up there though, as well.
Dispatch
Wait till she gets down on the ground, then
enemies.
kill her.
Yes, dark lady. Your darkness burns within me.
The sweet mercy of the dead.
I am ever burning.
The reason we don't kill her up there is because you actually have to loot her. And we're gonna make our way to the next boss, is Kilrog Deadeye, actually. Now, as you're fighting through this room here to get to him, be aware that certain ads you want to focus fire on, because if they happen to reach a pool of I'll call it Fel blood, they'll empower themselves and become even more of a hassle for you to deal with. It'll be this salivating bloodthirster.
You cannot stop us.
As you see, they'll become a hulking terror, and you'll get this bar where they can corrupt you. Now that bar fills, you're pretty much dead. Since we're on our way there, let's look over Kilrog's ability.
I need a target.
Now, during this fight, you'll have the salivating bloodthirster trying to run to the pools to become a hulking blood terror. Rich. has these abilities: Savage Strike, which does 76% of weapon damage to all targets within 9 yards of a 90 degree cone in front of the caster, and gives them 2 points of Fel Corruption every half second for 4 seconds. Fel Claws, he has a chance to splash Fel Blood on the current target, giving them 2 points of Fel Corruption. Rendering Howl, which should be Interrupt, does damage to all enemies and does additional physical damage every second for 10 seconds. Now, if you do interrupt it, though, it increases his cast speed by 50. Now, the Hulky Terror bursts, spilling Fel Blood on anyone nearby, doing fire damage and causing 40 points of Fel Corruption within 10 yards. Now, on Mythic here, the Fel Puddle lays behind when the Fel Rusher happens, which inflicts 6 corruption every second to anyone within it. Now, if it's not, unfortunately, soaked up by someone, it summons up a Blood Gobble. Now, for Kilrock, his abilities are Fel Corruption. Through that fight, he'll inflict this on people. At 100% Fel Corruption, you basically become MC to become demonically... You basically become a demon and need to be put down. Shred Armor causes them to take 75% more damage per application. Now, if a tank's using active mitigation, you won't have to worry about it. Hearthseeker, he'll throw a knife, inflicting physical damage and additional damage every second to all targets within you in a line. Now, on Mythic, he picks multiple targets for this. And it lasts, the debuff it gives lasts much longer. Now, being hit by this causes you to be wounded, leaving behind a blood puddle, where blood globules will spawn. Now, Blood Surge, which, if they get to him, it gives him the ability to do a Shadow Nova to hold rate. Now, the Fel Blood here, it seeks the player afflicted by Hearthseeker, who's covered in there, and makes his way. Now, if he gets the Kilrog, he does shadow damage, but also heals him for 50% of his max health. Now, Death Throws does fire damage to enemies every 2 to 6 for 6 seconds. It decreases the further away from the targets of Kilrog. He also fires missiles on random targets, inflicting fire damage within 5 yards. Now, on Mythic, Death Throws inflicts Fel Corruption as well. Death's Door increases the damage he does by Death Throws by 12%, and it will stack. Now, Visions of Demise, you'll have to get a group of people to stand in that. There'll be 3 people need to jump in there, and then whoever gets in there will get teleported to another realm where you're basically just going to be fighting off these ads here, the Imp, Fiend, and Mistress, to get these stacking buffs here. For DPS, your damage will be increased by 20% for 1 minute. Salvation for healers will increase your healing by 10 for a minute. And also, Cleanse the Aura will make you unable to be Fel Corruption for all allies.
Blood, Ariok. Give in to your rage. Release me from these bonds, and I will show you my rage, Kilrog! The choice is simple, Ariok. Submit or die. Friends of yours, Ariok? No, wait. You look familiar.
Now, another bonus here is, as you see, Ararok's in the middle there. If you can defeat Kilrog before Ararok dies, you'll actually be able to recruit him as a follower for your garrison. Now, this back then was the speed race because a lot of people actually wanted Ararok as a follower. So we're going to keep our eye on his HP.
I've been waiting for
Once
this
you initiate
day.
the fight, his HP is going to start going down, as you see.
Come, brothers. Seize your destiny.
Now there's the Salivating Bloodthirster. You want to kill them before they get to anywhere. Unfortunately, these guys will spawn. As you can see, you have to absorb this.
I'm going to cut your heart out.
Fortunately, I need to kill this guy fast because I'll be possessed by the fell corruption.
It's too far away.
This is the death I saw.
And once you free Era,
I am in your debt, heroes.
all you have to do is walk up.
Strength.
He'll have an exclamation point above his head, and you just talk to him and you recruit him. Now for the final boss here, this is Gorfiend. If you remember, you actually fought him in Archerdune, where he escaped, wounded, but still alive. And he's been becoming a big boy since the last time you fought. Now unfortunately I can't show you all the parts of this fight due to the fact that I'm soloing. If I had a few more of my friends on, we could actually show you the inside of the stomach of Gorfiend, where you gotta do a few things to help prevent ads and such from assisting during the fight. But we're just gonna straight up just take him out. Now for Gorfiend, the Devourer of Souls, now you're not killed outright if he takes you, because he'll devour your soul, which puts him in his stomach. You could get out of it by getting to the center, but you want to stay in there as long as you can to kill whatever spawns inside there. Like these corrupted souls. They're left behind when you're slain. Becomes corrupted, it turns to being a malice, been a consuming lemming. Now players, this is on a mythic, so this has to be destroyed in order to get out of the stomach. Now if it's not killed within 35 seconds, you die. You'll be consumed inside his stomach. Now, once you get out, actually, your soul's taxed, and you can no longer be consumed on death. Gathering Darkness does shadow damage to all enemies. Now, this is only active when he's not engaged in melee distance. Shadow of Death is a deadly ability. Now this is how you end up in Gorfiend's stomach, because after 5 seconds you get killed and end up in his stomach. Touch of Doom, it does shadow damage up to all allies for 8 seconds. Further away from the explosions, you take less damage. Now this actually forms a Doom well under the foot of the afflicted player, which inflicts shadow damage every 1.5 seconds if you stand within the zone. Shared Fate, he'll twist the soul of a player, ruining them in place and binding 3 other players to them. This effect does shadow damage to all targets within 2 seconds until the afflicted players are within 6 yards of the rooted player. Now all afflicted players will take a good chunk of shadow damage if they do not get within the person who is rooted. Surging Shadows causes each player to emit a pulse of shadow damage, does damage within 5 yards. Crushing Darkness, he basically makes a bunch of shadow explosions that will do damage if you're in 4 yards of impact. Now Feast of Souls is when you need to light him up, is when you pop everything, because he'll take increased damage by 100%. But during this time, he regenerates his energy and causes shadow damage every 2 seconds. Any unstable soul is active will be poured by them, and each soul that gets him will actually restore his energy. And upon reaching 100% energy, the fight continues. Now unstable soul, you touch this to cause it to collapse, inflicting shadow damage to all players and additional standing within 10 yards of the detonation. Now on mythic, this is only removed when a player collapses an unstable soul. While you're inside the stomach, you'll be fighting ads like the shadowy construct and torture essence. The enraged spirit, I believe, just spawns outside. But these souls can be unleashed, especially the skeleton ones. If they reach the center of his stomach, they escape. The people who are inside his stomach need to beat these souls down, more or less. We're gonna head right in and get this fight initiated.
You heard the master! These trespassers have caused enough trouble!
And as you can see, their souls are already being consumed, which is a little sad, honestly. Now, there's nothing really over there that way, so you're just gonna head down there. And what you actually see there, that's actually Gorfine's stomach. As you see, he's eating souls. Be honest, I prefer his look in Black Temple when he was the first Death Knight. Not this monstrosity.
Finally, one with the Master.
I have feasted upon 1,000 souls. Yours will be next.
Now, I can show you at least his abilities outside here.
Each death has given me untold power. Now, I unleash it upon you.
Now, there's all the explosions. Now, inflicted by Touch of Doom, which I'll end up playing at Doom Well, so we'll run over here to spawn it. Now, there's your Doom Well.
More! I must have more!
As you see, he's taking increased damage. And add spawn.
My power!
I never believed Gul'dan would go this far. We must press on. A portal lies within these ruins that will take us further into the Citadel.
As you see, you have to kill this guy 4 times.
The portal is ready, champions. Steel yourselves. I know not what further atrocities Gul'dan has unleashed in this place.
Now, I was saying, you got to kill this guy 4 times just to complete Kagar's quest here. So, I guess I'll run this 3 times in the future. But until then, this has been Asterion from Asterion Gaming. Asking to please like and subscribe, and also go check out my Twitch channel. Until then, I'll see everyone in the next video.